Okay, so it is halfway through the year. It is July, and I wanted to do a little recap of my New Year's resolutions and my goals. I think it's funny because a lot of people say, oh, I don't do New Year's resolutions because if I want to change something, I just change it whenever I want. But honestly, I've seen so many people that are like 40 years old and have never stopped and like asked themselves, is this what I want my life to look like? Is this where I actually want to be? And how can I change where I am? And what can I do to challenge myself and make my life what I want it to be? And I just don't want to be one of those people. I want to be intentional about my life and about where I am, and if I can control something in my life and if I can change something in my life, then I want to be able to do it. So I think the new year is a really good time for me to sit down and ask myself some of those questions and just kind of regroup. It's just a time of regrouping, looking at like, where do I want to be financially? Where do I want to be in the next year? What theme do I want this next year to hold for me? And so I just wanted to pull up that list, and I wanted to see how I've been doing. One of the things that has been really helpful for this year is I've been doing a little bit more journal time, and I'm not like the best like essay journaler, if that makes sense. I tend to get kind of caught up on grammar mistakes and spelling and my handwriting, and I don't know, like for some reason that just distracts me and it makes me not want to do it. So I found that something that works for me is doing like bullet points and just doing more of like a note-taking style journaling. So I'll do 2 different lists, and in one list I will do a gratitude list of everything that I'm thankful for, that has made me happy, that has been a blessing in my life, that has been a good thing in my life, and just things that I've been enjoying in my life currently. So I'll do that, and then on the other side of the paper I will do a list of dreams. So this list, I like it to change all the time. I feel like before I would kind of think that like if my dreams changed, then I was somehow being fickle, and I don't think that's true now. I think that has been the best part about doing this list is I ask myself like, okay, today, what is my dream today? What sounds fun for me to do in the future today? So if today I want to be a doctor, then I write down a doctor. I don't want to be a doctor, but that's just an example. So I'll just write down that day what sounds fun, and I'll describe it. I'll like write it down in detail, exactly why I think it would be fun and what it would look like, what it would sound like, what it would feel like, what it would smell like, and just write it down in detail. And then it's been really interesting because from doing that, I've been able to see a lot of themes of, oh my gosh, like there's so many things in common with all of these dreams. Like all of these things have to do with connecting with people, or with making people feel safe or warm or comfortable or being creative. Like all of these things have a theme, and I've been able to learn about myself through those themes, if that makes sense. So that's one thing that I've been doing that's been really helpful. But at the beginning of the year, I wrote down a list of adventures that I would want to do in my lifetime, like a bucket list sort of thing. And I did like big and small. So some of the big ones was going on a trip to Hawaii and going fishing, which I got to do that. I actually did that last week, and it was a super spontaneous trip. I booked it 3 weeks in advance. I had nothing planned hardly, and some things worked out, some things didn't. If you watch my vlog, you'll be able to see what things didn't. But it was a spontaneous adventure, and that was like such a huge win for me to be able to check that off of my bucket list, that I was able to go fishing in Hawaii. Sadly, didn't catch anything, but just means that I have to go back. That's all. But got to check that off my list, and it was an amazing adventure. It did not disappoint at all. Another thing on my resolution list was I wanted to get a dog and train a dog. And I was able to do that. I got little Miss Oakley like a month ago or so. Yeah, a month ago. And she has been such a dream come true. She has been so fun to have. I absolutely love her. She is doing so great with training, and it's really fun because she's learning how to be trained, but also I'm learning how to train. Like, we're learning this together. She's my first dog. Another thing that I wrote down, which is kind of like smaller goals for this year, which is maybe kind of silly, but not to me. That's another thing, is like these goals and these resolutions, like, they don't have to make sense to anyone except for you. If they sound fun to you, then write it down. If they don't sound fun to other people, who cares? It's not their list. It's yours. So, one of the things that I wrote down is that I wanted to learn how to store and save food better, and how to grow my own food. I really love the idea of living more self-sustainably and being able to garden and grow and ferment that food, or can that food, freeze that food, be able to save it and use it later, so I'm not spending as much money on groceries, and not wasting what I grow, and I'm able to eat food that I know all the ingredients that are in it. I know that they don't have a bunch of pesticides, that they don't have a bunch of chemicals. And I also wanted to learn more about like foraging. So like mushroom hunting, I got to go mushroom hunting, fishing, gathering my own meat, and I really like the idea of having an awareness of where my food comes from. I've always loved animals. I've always been a huge animal lover. And I feel like if you're going to be a meat eater, I think it's really special and really cool to be able to know where that meat is coming from. I think it gives you a different respect for the food that you're eating when you know that there's a life behind it, when you know that there was an animal behind that, like that I didn't just buy it from the deli department in Safeway. This is actually from an animal. This is actually from a life. And it just gives me a deeper reverence and a deeper respect for the food that I'm consuming. And it makes me not want to be wasteful. It makes me not want to disrespect that food and that animal in that way. So I've really enjoyed exploring that more. My family has always been really big hunter-gatherers, so it's just something that I want to carry on that tradition, and I want to learn. I want to be more savvy with that tradition and carry it on. Also, another thing that was super fun is I got to freaking milk a goat and make cheese from that goat. And yes, I wrote that down on my list of things that I wanted to do. I wrote that down as a resolution. It just sounded really fun. I don't know why, but for some reason, the thought of me like milking a goat and like making the cheese myself, that's cool. I just feel like that's really cool. And it was very cool. it was super fun. My aunt lives on a little farm, or actually a big farm, that I go out and work on occasionally. And one of her tenants that lives and works out there, she has a bunch of goats. And so one of the days that I was working out there, one of her goats was kidding and having a little baby, and I got to be a part of the birthing process and help. And that day when I was there, she offered to have me help milk and make some goat cheese. And I told her, oh, this is literally such a dream come true. I wrote this down on my list of things that I wanted to do this year. And she kind of looked at me like, you did? That's kind of weird. And I was like, I know, but I'm having so much fun. And so me and one of my friends actually got to do it together. And it was so fun. It was so cool just to be able to see something start from nothing and turn into cheese. Like, that's just cool. So I loved it. I thought it was really cool. So another thing that I wanted to do this year, let me pull up my list. Oh, another thing. Okay, this is a huge dream of mine that I can't believe that I'm actually doing. So I have grown up singing, and I've always been a creative person. And this last year, I've really started to try and challenge myself in that creativity a little bit more. And one of the ways that I've been doing that is I really want to release some of my original songs. And so at the beginning of the year, I wrote down that I wanted to release at least 5 original songs. And once I started the ball rolling, I just had so much fun with recording and producing these songs that I just decided, why don't I just do a whole project? And why don't I just do like a full 13, 14 songs. I have all the songs. I have plenty to choose from, so might as well. They're just sitting there. So the last year, or the last 4 months or so, I have been working with my dad. My dad's a musician also, and he has a little homegrown recording studio at his house. And we've been working really hard together on how to learn how to record and produce these songs and make them sound as professional as we can. It's definitely not going to be perfect. It's definitely not going to sound perfectly professional, but it doesn't have to be. It's a really good place to start. And I've been trying to look at this as this is just a jumping off point. I don't have to sound perfect. I don't have to sound all put together. It doesn't have to be wonderful. It doesn't have to be 100%. It just has to be my 100% of exactly where I'm at right now. And I can say hands down that what we've done to work on this project, and between the writing and the recording and the producing and working with other musicians, I can 100% say that this has been our 100%. This has been probably our 120%, way over our heads. But it's been so fun to learn. So I'm hoping that that project will be done in like a month or so. It's basically in the final steps of just being mastered right now. And the finishing touches put on, and I have to figure out what I want to do for like a cover photo and things like that. And then I think it takes a little bit of time to upload on like to Spotify. So I'm nervous. I'm very nervous. It's scary having someone see your heart and soul out there, your most vulnerable moments for the world to see and judge. But I think that it's something that other people could connect with. And I know that I'm not the only person that has felt this way and who has been in these same situations that I'm writing about. So I'm excited for other people to hear that music and connect with it. That's the most rewarding thing as an artist, to have someone see your art and say, oh my gosh, I have felt the same way. I can't believe that you feel that way too. That makes my heart sing. It makes me so excited. I love it. So I'm excited about that. It's going to sound a little homegrown, but that's okay. I think that that's one thing that I'm working on is I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to be perfectionist. That I can be a beginner at something. I can be a learner at something. And when you're a beginner, you're not going to be as good as when you're a professional at something. Who knew, right? So I think that that's going to be a really good way to stretch myself, of letting people see me be a beginner and see me learn and see me struggle and grow and be imperfect, and that's okay, that I still have value and that people can still connect with those lyrics. They can still enjoy the music even though it's not perfect. So anyways, that is my mid-year goal check-in and reset. I hope that this inspires you to check in on your New Year's resolutions, and if you haven't done good on them, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. This is always a good time to reset and make new goals and check in with yourself, and you don't have to feel bad. Life happens and you have plenty of time. You have plenty of time. So I love you all, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. Bye.